I'm Christine, and Avengers Endgame has happened! Endgame is out. I've seen it. It's happened. You've probably seen it. I'm gonna start this off with my spoiler-free review, but then I'm gonna go into my 5 favorite moments, 5 parts that made me emotional, 5 parts I had little issues with, all sorts of categories that are spoilery. So just beware, get ready for the warning. But overall thoughts. I mean, what a feat these last 10 years have been for Marvel. No matter what they did, it was gonna be really hard to wrap this up in a way that made everyone happy, but I think they wrapped this up in a way that made everyone happy. I did, like I said, I had some issues that kind of nip at me, but I enjoyed the hell out of myself. There were so many fantastic moments. I loved it, and I can't wait to see it again. Was it as good as Infinity War? In my opinion, no. Infinity War, to me, is perfection. But this is much harder than the first half of the end, because the first half of the end isn't the end, and the end has to be satisfying in so many different ways. There's a lot to tie up, and I think they did a really great job with it. There was bound to be a little fraying along the edges because there's so many characters. So overall, I'm gonna give Endgame a 90%. I think I gave Infinity War a 98 or 100. It's still an A. It's just not an A++++. Spoilers are coming. Goodbye, non-spoiler people. Okay, so I had to organize this video because there's way too much going on, and I definitely have more than 5 of each of these categories, but I had to narrow it down or this would be a 3-hour-long video. 5 things the writers did that were genius. So in my Infinity War review, I talked about how they can't just bring everyone back. You know, we can't just use the time stone, rewind, and poof everyone back in this movie. But in a way, it felt like some sort of time travel was inevitable, right? Here's a time stone. But the way the writers did it was beautiful. The biggest genius move that they made was cutting us off from the very beginning. So the movie starts, immediately they go after Thanos. Immediately we realize the stones are gone. Poof, they're gone. He destroyed them. So there's no stones, and we killed him. Thanos is dead within the first 20 minutes of the movie. We're all kind of thrown off kilter a bit. Like, I thought that was gonna be more difficult, but already all our theories about getting the stones back from him are gone. There are no stones. What do we do now? And the second genius part of that right there is 5 years later. Those 5 years made all the emotional loss we felt from all those moments in Infinity War pay off, because there was no poof, they're back. They had 5 years. They had to live in this world without them for 5 years. The world had to keep going, and that changes the ballgame. I don't know why I just made a sports reference. Our characters have to deal with so much shit and have to evolve and become new versions of themselves. It gave our characters so much more of an emotional punch when it came time to get the stones back. 3, I was worried about Captain Marvel going to this movie. After seeing Captain Marvel, I'd be like, Captain Marvel is the son incarnate. How is there gonna be any struggle in this movie? You know? I think it was such a smart decision to have her off in the universe helping other planets. Our heroes needed to try to fix this shit themselves. Whilst I don't really know why they didn't ping her about their going back in time plan, they just, went ahead with it without her. I still think it was better without having her there, because everything would have been too easy. She's such a force that you don't get the same fight. There isn't that struggle and that fear that maybe we won't win. At the end, when she was fighting Thanos, there was still a fight. There was still a struggle, and I loved seeing that. I loved watching her have a hard time there. But I still don't fully understand the limits of her power, and I don't think we as a whole do, because we've only seen her in such a limited period of time and in limited scenarios with her power thus far. And 4, Tony Stark's character arc. It's no secret that Iron Man is my favorite Avenger. If you didn't know, Iron Man is my favorite Avenger. He has been since the very first Iron Man movie, and his emotional arc has been so beautiful. I loved seeing him and Pepper settle down and have a kid. I loved watching him interact with his kid. I loved that conversation he had with his father. He's come so far from that first movie. The first time he talks to Captain America, he's like, "You're not the one to make the sacrifice play." And then he does. He makes that sacrifice play for New York at the end of Avengers. And then he makes the biggest sacrifice. He sacrifices himself for everyone in the universe. This piece of fan art says it all, yo. Top 5 favorite moments. Gotta start with the best moment of the entire film. Oh my god. I think everyone across the land flipped their shits. This elation just flowed through me and exploded out my mouth when Thor's hammer rose off the ground into Cap's awaiting hand. I couldn't even contain myself. It was just a magical moment. That comedy in Age of Ultron paid off tenfold in this moment. Oh my god. I will never forget this collective 10 seconds in the theater where we were all just losing it together. There were like 2 8-year-old kids next to me, and after like I screamed and whooped, I'm pretty sure I was just like, next favorite moment is another Cap moment. This movie, I finally came around to Cap. The moment in the elevator, when he gets in the elevator when they're back in time, it's such a throwback to Winter Soldier, and we're all just immediately excited, like they're doing the Winter Soldier thing, and we're all expecting a fight to break out. And he just leans over and goes, "It's okay. Hail Hydra." Another moment in the theater where we all were like, oh my god, what excellent. 3, the moment we see Pepper fly up in the Iron Man suit, my heart, the tears, the happiness coursing through my veins just shot through the roof. It was just so wonderful and rewarding to see her there fighting for their world with everyone else. For that moment when Captain Marvel has hold of the gauntlet, Spider-Man's like, I don't know how you're gonna get through all that alone. And all the women show up behind her and they're like, she won't be alone. And they just keep coming. All of them just keep showing up in the Wasp, the Valkyrie. It was just such a beautiful moment. It was kind of a callback to the moment where Scarlet Witch is about to be killed by one of Thanos' children in Infinity War. And they go, you're gonna die alone. And Black Widow's like, she's not alone. And Michonne is there. 5, the moment where Scarlet Witch shows up in front of Thanos and she's like, you took everything from me. He goes, I don't even know you. She's like, you will now. And she takes him down. Like she was going to take him out. Thanos was tripping. The only reason she didn't kill him right then and there was because the sky started raining fire from his ship. What a badass bitch. Wanda has had amazing moments in these 2 films. She doesn't get that much screen time in the other ones, but boy, she just shines in these 2 movies, and she's barely in this movie, but when we see her, we see her. Last one, that scene where Spider-Man and Iron Man reunite on the field, and Peter starts filling him in on what happened. Mr. Stark, you wouldn't believe it. How I turned into dust, and then I just woke up, and then Doctor Strange was like, it's been 5 years, and Tony just gives him a hug. You know, it's just such a full circle moment from when we first saw them together. Moving on to 5 times I cried. I cried way more than 5 times. The second the opening scene started, and it was Hawkeye and his daughter, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to watch his family poof the fuck away. And I started crying. Right then! From the very first moment they had me, and it didn't let up. The entire time. When I laughed, it was like laughing through teary-eyedness. Moment 2, when Tony Stark was rescued and brought back down to Earth. You know, he basically had a mental breakdown. And he takes the thing out of his chest, and I lost it. The gasp that came out of my mouth, it was brutal, man. 3, the second I realized they were going to Vormir. I know they don't know that Thanos killed Gamora because he needed to for the Soul Stone, but I was so frustrated that like no one even theorized that that could have possibly been it. But why would it be? Because none of the other stones required that. Oh, I didn't think I was gonna cry. It didn't really hit me in the soul until Hawkeye jumped off and Natasha jumped after him, and they were like hanging from the thread, and the same music was playing from when Gamora was pushed. It just brought all those feelings back, and it was the same shots, and it was just so upsetting, and I'm crying again. 4, that moment, the big 3 are fighting Thanos at the end, and they're losing again. It doesn't really hit you emotionally until Cap's shield starts breaking. Thanos is breaking his shield. It gets you so down, but then it makes moment 5 so much more rewarding. The entire theater broke out into cheers. I just started crying harder. It was a happy cry when all the portals started opening up and everyone came out of it. You just hear the Black Panther army like, "I am Bombay!" And this is such a beautiful moment, and they all just get their kind of cameos as you go across all the different portals, and it's just such a fantastic, overwhelming scene where you feel all the things, and they look at Thanos and he's like, "Fuck, wasn't expecting them." And 6, yes, I have one more, at Tony's funeral when that little wreath floats out onto the lake and it's holding proof that Tony Stark has a heart. It's so sad. Okay, 5 favorite jokes. Opposite end of the spectrum here. There are so many great, funny moments in this film. Honestly, I wasn't expecting as many as we got, but they were woven in beautifully. And the first one for me is the first scene after the cold open with Nebula and Tony playing paper football at the table. Tony trying to teach Nebula how to have fun. It was really, really nice. 2, what a great moment it was. We went back to 2014 on that planet where Star-Lord started Guardians of the Galaxy. The whole sequence is iconic now. Him dancing with the headphones on. We got the music rocking. And then we pull out and see that from Nebula and War Machine's point of view. Just a guy dancing and singing to himself en route to this very dangerous weapon on this planet. So he's an idiot. Yes. 3 here, another Nebula moment. Nebula really shined as the straight man in a lot of the jokes in this movie. In this one, she and Rocket just landed outside the Avengers headquarters, and Ant-Man's sitting there with his taco. The taco blows away, and she walks up and stops, and she's like, "Rocket, be careful, there's an idiot outside." 4 is when Thor is catching the Avengers up on his experience with the Infinity Stones, and everyone's just side-eyeing each other, and then you go to Ant-Man, and he's like, "Oh yeah," sitting there nodding along, totally into it, and it's just great. Everything with Ant-Man at this table was great, because he's so irrelevant. And that brings me to the crowning moment of this whole table scene, where Rocket walks over to Ant-Man and starts patting his head. "Oh, this little puppy! Does the little puppy want to go to space? He wants to go to space." Rocket really shined comedically in this film. He didn't have too many lines, but every line he had was fantastic. Oh, like the moment in the beginning where it's so dark and everyone's so sad, and Rocket speaks and Tony goes, literally, "Up to this moment I thought you were Build-A-Bear." And Rocket's like, "Maybe I am." The final category, issues I had with the film. Ha ha ha. It's very rare that a film does time travel like this one does, and it doesn't step into any plot holes. Like, there's just too many directions. My first issue with the film, I'm accepting it, it's fine, but it's just gonna be something that floats around in my head because I love time travel stuff and I want to know exactly how everything works, and I feel like the rules of this time travel universe were kind of blurry. They were like, "Back to the future, back to the future." Yeah, that's not how time works, you dingus. And then we're all like, then how does it work? How does it work? And they never explain it. I need a lecture so I could see it. Because there are moments where I just don't see it. I know hypothetically the idea that they take the stones away and then put them all back makes it so nothing happens, but in between the time where they're not there and they're using them, doesn't everything change until they put them back and then it changes back? You know what I'm saying? What is time? I need the parameters so I can visualize the timeline. Is it going off into the darkest? I just need to know. And it's not clear. And I'm sure maybe they have it clear in their heads, but my head is blurry. Like when Nebula shot herself at the end, I was like, that's past you. Why didn't she evaporate? Why didn't she fade out of the picture like in Back to the Future? See, these are the rules that my mind could comprehend. And I was just like, what? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now that Gamora is in the present day, what happened to past Gamora? Did past Gamora never happen? What? 2. This one I can't stop thinking about it. Cap's shield. Okay, so Cap has an emotional moment at the end, and it kind of ruined the moment for me. It didn't ruin it, but like it made it less potent, because I was like, where'd you get that shield, Cap? Last time I saw it, it was fucking broken. It was pretty broken. I was crying crying about it, okay? And now he just had a shiny brand new one. Where'd you get that? Did you steal it from yourself in the past? I mean, because he still had to go through this moment. What? I don't get it. Like, how is it shiny and new, but also old, but your old one broke? If you got it from the past, you still need to give it to your your future self, and your future self broke it, and did someone make a new one? Like, did he commission a new one? But then it's not like his shield, it's just like a new shield. I love when he kind of passed the torch to Falcon, because I love Falcon. He's so cool, I wish he was in the movies more. But where'd you get it? Wait, explain. 3? Loki and the Tesseract. Loki picked up the Tesseract, and disappeared. And how come this hasn't changed the timeline? Where are the ripples? I can't comprehend that he just goes off into a separate timeline because he was already in our timeline. So why didn't it change the time in the present? Does that mean at this time that we saw them fighting, that Loki was also off with the third Tesseract? Like, there's the Tesseract in that time Thanos has broken. There's the Tesseract that they have in their glove. And then there's also Loki off in another world land with his Tesseract. Like, how can they coexist? What's happening? We never resolved that. So I'm assuming it has something to do with one of the various shows Disney's working on, but I don't understand how it didn't affect the Avengers timeline. Are you just saying this always happened? Like, did he always take it? 4? This isn't a huge issue, it's just very confusing. It was a touching moment when Ant-Man opened the door and his daughter was there. I teared up, but also I was like, why is his daughter 100 years older? We saw her 5 minutes ago and she was like 11, and now she's like 28. I mean, she's like my age. I couldn't really compute, like, it was 5 years, so she should be like 17, 18 at most. What happened there? 5, spoiler, I have a couple more than 5. But 5 is another thing with the time and the age kind of making things a little confusing, because Spider-Man at the end reuniting with Ned, they have this nice moment, but at the same time, we all have to think that high school is less than 5 years. So either both of them poofed, in that case, they hadn't seen each other since like 2 days ago or something, and they're having an emotional reunion, or he didn't poof and didn't age and is still in high school 5 years later, which doesn't make any sense. And also, so for this to work for Spider-Man 2, everyone of Spider-Man's people who he's friends with has to have poofed so that they can still be in school together, or they're just all free-falling it out of school and they're still friends, and that's why they're going far away from home. I haven't watched the Spider-Man trailers, so please don't spoil me. 6, this is the most annoying thing for me. First with Thor, where he's back in time, and this is the only chance you have to save the universe. Like, not just one person or 10 people or a country, the universe. And Thor's like, oh, I can't do this. I need some wine. And he like goes to get wine. Like, this isn't a serious thing. And he just takes his sweet ass time, and like Rocket's like, no, this is serious. And he walks off, and Thor just like turns around, walks the other way, and disappears. This is no time for hijinks. No. Of course, Rocket gets it done because he gets it done. But it still was like, really? Right now? And then the other moment that really irritated me was when Cap walked into Peggy's office without realizing it. He was like, oh, what? What office did I accidentally stumble into nostalgically to look off into the distance? Peggy. And then he looks through the window, and we're on a timeline. People are noticing that they don't belong here. We need to get out of there. He needs to find Iron Man, but he's just like, ooh, look, Peggy. And he slowly looks through the window and slowly comes really close to it. E.T., phone home, me love, Peggy. And I'm just standing here like, excuse me, people need you. Bitch, get out of there. You have a mission. What you doing? You can come back in time and see her later. If you don't do this now, you can never see Peggy. But he's just like, la, and I get it. We're supposed to be like, oh, Cap and Peggy never really even started. But like, right now, I don't care, because everyone poofed. If you don't do this right now, that's it. I know everything works out fine, except for one thing, and that's my next number. 7 was just that, like, we all saw this Nebula thing coming a mile away. I wish it was just like a little less obvious that Nebula and Nebula are gonna switch places, and the other Nebula would be the evil Nebula. And then 8, my final little thing is the Hulk. Don't get me wrong, it was fun to have Shrek in the film, but I just think it was weird tonal shift that happened very quickly. Like, all of a sudden we see Bruce Banner and he's like a Banner Hulk, and Hulk is gone after we just got to know Hulk as a separate person in Thor Ragnarok a couple years ago. It's just weird that they gave him like a separate personality, so we kind of got to know both people, Bruce Banner and Hulk, and then Hulk was gone. It wasn't a mesh of the two of them, it was just Bruce, and it's kind of like, okay, where did Hulk go? And also, how did this happen? It's kind of a one-off where he just says, you know, I exposed myself to more gamma radiation and then we fused into one, but really, we just fused into Bruce Banner with Hulk's body. I just thought he kind of felt silly the whole time. I like original Bruce Banner that we meet in Avengers. He just comes off much smarter, and when Bruce Banner looks like the Hulk, he just kind of seems silly. Like, he's trying to be smart, but he's really just a baby in a giant body when he's trying to figure out how to send Ant-Man through time, and Ant-Man's just like circling throughout the human lifespan. Oops. That's how I picture Bruce Banner when he's the Hulk. He's just so goofy. I'd love to hear your top 5 in any of the categories that I went through. I'm so excited that Thor might be in the Guardians 3. He's gotta be. My name's Christine. My book comes out like next week, called Again But Better. It will be available wherever books are sold, but if you're interested and you'd like to pre-order it, there are links in the description below. I make videos every Tuesday, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!